Shape and Figure is seated with us in the studio this morning to help us make sense of the development and the recent strides that they have been taking as long as MOSOP is concerned. And I am talking about the president of the Movement for the Survival of Ogoni People, MOSOP, and that is Fegalo Nsuke. It was just last week, but here we are again. Fegalo Nsuke, good morning to you. Welcome to the Spotlight.
Thank you very much, and good morning, everybody.
How has it been?
It's very good.
It's good to have you here again.
Thank you.
Fegalo Nsuke, in flesh and blood, the struggle has been somewhat very adventurous, but I'll get to ask you about that. Let's start with, the Ogoni Congress that was held on Saturday.
Yes.
What's your general take of the outlook? How did it go?
I think Saturday gave a clear path. It gave us a way forward on resolving the Ogoni problem. We've been talking about a whole lot of things, but Saturday defined the path to take. And that path was actually in alignment with the vision of the founding fathers and the vision of the struggle itself. You see, what people do not really understand about the Ogoni struggle is why we actually launched the struggle. It was a response to underdevelopment in Ogoni. The Ogoni struggle was Ogoni's way to complain about lack of water, lack of roads, lack of good education,
Dying family.
lack of employment opportunities, lack of an economy that can project the future of Ogoni and protect the future of Ogoni. That was basically what the struggle was all about. And last Saturday, Congress took very key decisions that actually was not really so different from what you find in the Ogoni Bill of Rights. It's just the same thing, but it gave a definite path, gave us a course of action that can lead us to the solution, that can lead us to the vision that we've all set for ourselves. And so I would say Saturday was a beautiful day.
Remember, we were having a conversation off the mic concerning that event as at then in anticipation. And one of the things you had mentioned is that so much plans have been made into it, and you're expecting the most capable individuals to come through to see how they can work towards the unification of ideas. Also, do not forget that when we had allowed the callers to participate on the program last week, a lot of them called in agreeing and acceding to the fact that your credibility actually stands. That said, during the Congress, what were some of those things that were highlighted? Let's be more particular about them right now. And how did you get to navigate them with the colleagues and stakeholders that you had on board on the said day?
I was very clear to Ogoni, and I told them that we launched this struggle in 1990. So we are 34 years into it. And that if in 34 years we have been unable to solve one problem, which is that we were protesting underdevelopment. Of course, underdevelopment comes with different names. Sometimes you hear marginalization, sometimes you hear political strangulation, sometimes you hear economic strangulation, environmental devastation. All of these are signs of underdevelopment. So basically the underlying word there is that we are suffering from underdevelopment, which means there isn't an active Ogoni economy to support the growth of Ogoni, to provide jobs for Ogoni youth, to provide employment for Ogoni youth, to ensure that Ogoni children have good schools to attend, to ensure that Ogoni people, our women, our men, our old people have access to quality healthcare system. All of these require that money be injected into the system. And so I let them understand that for this money to be injected into the system, we shouldn't expect the money to be coming from somewhere else when we are sitting on wealth. But what is most important is that the wealth we are sitting on must also reflect in the lives of the people. So it is not just about take the wealth, take it to Abuja, distribute it to 36 states and the FCT. It also has to be injected into the people. And so fundamentally, Congress on Saturday now decided that 20% of the profit made by the operator, any operator that is granted access to the Ogoni oil fields, 20% of the profit that operator makes must be injected into Ogoni development. And then the next stage is going to be working out the operationalization of that decision of Congress.
Interesting.
So where we are now is the phase of consultations. Where we are now is we are talking with all critical stakeholders. We are going to be talking with everybody. And Congress also took a decision that that there should be harmonization. That we should bring in dissenting voices together. But I know that in reality, everybody cannot agree with what you're doing.
That's the truth.
Yes, everybody cannot agree. See, people talk about unity. Disunity is given. See, unity is the thing that is strange. That everybody will speak one voice is strange. That is what you cannot achieve. But that people will have different opinions, different voices over a particular issue is the one that is even natural. And I tell people that this whole thing, if people call unity, talk one voice, it's not possible. That even in heaven, we were told that there was disunity and that God and somebody called Lucifer, somebody called Lucifer had a disagreement and they threw one of them down to earth. If disunity can happen in heaven where God is, a God of peace, then is it here on earth in MOSOP that disunity can be excluded? And I tell them that disunity is not, it's normal, it's natural. When Ken Saro was here, see, let me tell you, why was Ken Saro killed? We were told. It was Ogoni people that testified against him. So were they speaking one voice and they testified against Ken? They were not. So it was natural. It's just always there. But what is most important is what is good for society. Let us at this point agree to do what is good for society.
Let us at this point agree to do what is good and will bring about development for the society. That's in the words of Fegalo Nsuke, the president of the Movement for the Survival of Ogoni People. He's live here in the studios of Wave 91.7 FM, talking about the progress that they have recorded so far in the push and strives to make sure that concrete development comes to the Ogoni people and they are able to also enjoy the benefit of the wealth that they have been given by nature. Now, do not forget, this is the Spotlight on Wave 91.7 FM, and subsequently we'll get to open the phone lines so you can also be a part of the conversation. I know you are itching to have your say. Fegalo Nsuke, how do you feel? Because one of the resolutions, okay, I see that smile. One of the resolutions that were given at that Congress was that a vote of confidence was actually passed on your leadership by, the Ogoni people through the Congress, expressing that voice and saying, we want to work with you the more. How do you feel about that?
I see light, coming into a dark tunnel. I see Ogoni at this point moving in a direction, in a very clear that we have a clear path. And so I feel happy, I'm hopeful that at last this whole thing that has truncated development in Ogoni for decades is finally going to be laid to rest, and we are going to have a new era. We are going to open a new page that guarantees the future of Ogoni, that guarantees that when children are born in Ogoni, you can look at them and say they have a future. You can be very sure that they have a future. So for me, I see a new Ogoni emerging, and I am excited to see that we can move forward. It's beautiful, and I do hope, and that's why I said at this point, primarily what we are doing at this point is consultations. What we are doing at this point is we are talking to everybody. There is nothing like we are quarreling.
The responses have been positive.
See, some people think that because we have different views, we have divergent views, we don't talk to each other. No. You see, I will tell you several of them talk. We talk.
In the instinct.
We talk. No, we talk physically. Okay. I tell you, we meet face to face and talk. But the only thing is that we have disagreement in principle.
Okay.
We disagree in principle, but that we don't talk. I can mention the name of somebody that I talk to very regularly, And when we meet, we hug and we talk. We are not fighting, we are not quarreling, we're only disagreeing on certain principles. But it doesn't, because let me tell you something. We've worked together for years. Many of us, you see that maybe we are disagreeing for one reason or the other. We've actually worked together for years. We've been allies for years. So the fact that we have some disagreement doesn't make us
Enemies.
fight. It make us enemies. We are not enemies, but we just have just normal disagreement.
You know what, Fegalo Nsuke? Ogoni people who are listening to you this morning would have some form of respite because we've seen different situations in different spectrums where people who are privileged to lead at the position you're doing would seize such opportunity to further create that gap and widen it between them and other people. You're being straight to the point this morning by saying, yes, these things do occur, but in principle, and it doesn't deter the basic aim of trying to get at development for the Ogoni people to make sure that the child that is growing on the Ogoni soil do so in the best environment. That said, during the Congress, one of those that have actually that graced the occasion was the National Youth Council of Ogoni people. The former president, that is Chief Emmanuel Nkala, and he also consolidated with opposition and said he's standing with the administration that you are leading. Now, let Ogoni people and Rivers people understand the idea behind one of the items that the Congress actually resolved on, which is the 20% interest for the Ogoni people in natural resource extractions.
Yeah. That is the crux of the matter. That was the basic foundational demand of the Ogoni struggle. We call it Mideko. It's simply one of five. That's simply what it means. I've said this before, I think,
You did.
that when you look at the Ogoni Bill of Rights itself, it acknowledges that $30 billion worth of oil was extracted from Ogoni between 1958 and 1990, and it demanded $6 billion in royalties. That $6 billion is simply 20% of $30 billion. Now, what we are doing here is that we are looking at the legal framework that operates within Nigeria, which is the PIA and some other legal framework that operates within Nigeria. And we do not want a situation where we have to go to parliament because we don't have the numbers. So we don't want to go to parliament for any reason whatsoever. So what we're simply doing is we are placing responsibility on any operator that is going to be coming into Ogoni. Any operator that wants to come should agree that 20% of the profit he makes is going to be injected into Ogoni development. Because we've looked at the volume of work, the volume of resources in Ogoni. We've looked at the kind of money that can be made, and we are convinced that if 20% of profits is injected into Ogoni, we are very convinced it's going to address youth unemployment, it's going to address infrastructural decay, it's going to address, when I say infrastructure, I'm not just talking about roads. I talk about roads, I talk about schools, I talk about hospitals, I talk about electricity, I talk about water supply, I talk about job creation, I talk about everything. Security. Taking care of supporting
The other.
the security, supporting the elders, supporting the security architecture we have in Ogoni. So if you work in Ogoni, you're going to be working in the finest environment in Nigeria, and you're going to be getting a better pay, because this development blueprint we have actually recommends that security men be paid extra money. It also recommends that, in fact, I think the two groups we have actually discussed and recommended that they must be paid well are chiefs and security men. In fact, in that document, it makes specific reference to chiefs that they should be paid. So our chiefs are going to be super rich, our chiefs are going to be very rich, and because we expect that when they are very rich, they are going to support the process of fair justice, justice delivery within the system, because that's primarily their work. So I can say that for me at this point, it's beautiful that we are going to be, we are giving ourselves a fine direction to take, and we are actually driving this thing in the interest of everybody. I always insist that we should see what belongs to Ogoni should go to Ogoni. We are talking about what Ogoni gets, and we are saying 20% of profit should go to Ogoni.
Hmm.
The next thing now is how to implement it. We've also prescribed the method. The document itself, the development blueprint we've put out there, prescribes how it should be implemented. It does prescribe how it should be implemented, because we believe that if we do it that way, it will be different from HyPrep. It cannot go the way HyPrep is going now. No, it's not going to go that direction.
Mm.
We are going to have it. We are going to have, I mean, integrity built into the operationalization.
Fegalo Nsuke, listening to you speak is like listening to, what's the name again? Martin Luther King. But you know what? You're doing a great job. And many people will say, Mama, if I'm correct.
Mama.
Mama.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oza. Oh, that is a good.
Interesting. Now, that said, you've re-emphasized for the opt-in time, as long as I can remember, that in all of the requests that you're making, asking for an Ogoni state is totally out of the picture. So what this means is that dependent upon everything you're asking, Ogoni should remain the way it is geographically, but the development should come. The people should have an improvement of life. Correct me if I'm right.
No, that's not what we're saying. We've not said asking for an Ogoni state should be out of the question. Ogoni is a distinct ethnic nationality. And so when you talk about justice within Nigeria, it will be fair. It will actually be fair to recognize the identity of the Ogoni people by allowing them to operate within that geographical area to define their own future as a people. That is when it comes to state. But do you know why we are not pushing for that at the moment? Because we know that state creation is responsibility of parliament. And we've looked at parliament the way, except Nigeria is talking about restructuring. If Nigeria is talking about restructuring, fine. But at the moment, we know that within the Nigerian federal system, if you go to the National Assembly, we have 109 senators, out of which Ogoni has just one. If you go to the Federal House of Representatives, we have 360 or thereabout, out of which Ogoni has 2. So we know that we don't have the numbers.
Interesting.
And therefore, we cannot now be pushing for state creation, which, in my view, is not achievable. It's not achievable within the present configuration of the Nigerian legislature.
I think we've been able to establish that fact, and thank you for the pointers in that direction. Let's quickly talk about one other item that the Congress agreed on: the demanding of compensation for livelihood losses due to decades of oil pollution.
Yes.
How do you do a configuration of these figure, an estimation, or whatever means you want to use to measure up and get these actualized?
There are actually legal framework to do the assessments. But you see, the fact is that there have been destruction over years. People have suffered a lot of losses. People have suffered illnesses. There has been so much damage to the people. People are drinking polluted water. And so they have a right to be compensated for being poisoned. They've practically been poisoned. Now, our concern is that in the implementation of the UNEP report, they tell us that they are remediating what has gone wrong. So it's about remediation. And what we want them to understand is that there can be no remediation without compensation for livelihood losses. There can be no remediation without paying people for giving them poison to drink. And many of the people have died in the process. There are children that are orphans today. They died because their mother and father died from drinking poisoned water that shares pollution poison. And who pays for that? So the idea is, when you say, the idea is that people are telling us that they are doing livelihood support to Ogoni by granting people scholarship, maybe to go and study medicine overseas. And I ask, what about the man and the woman that does not have a child? And they are probably 60 years, they can't go to school anymore. Of course, some of them are really very old, they can't go to school anymore. What about those that have died, but their children are still alive? How do you compensate those ones? Because, and the scholarship, of course, cannot go to everybody. The scholarship is not going to everybody. And everybody has been affected. So there has to be there has to be there has to be compensation for people, especially for people whose farmlands were particularly affected.
Interesting. Fegalo Nsuke is here in the studios of Wave 91.7 FM, and you're listening to the Spotlight. If you're just joining the conversation, we're talking about the Congress that was recently concluded by the Movement for the Survival of Ogoni People.
Yeah.
And particularly from the said Congress, some resolutions have emerged. Of course, at the Congress, there were actually prominent figures who had also represented the likes of the Ogoni Youth President Theophilus Mbaye Esquire, was as I said, Congress, the spokesperson for the Federation of Ogoni Women's Association, Lady Immaculate Bopi, also was there and assured for her support for the Ogoni women. That is to tell you that across all layers and strata, the developmental drive of the Ogoni people is being taken into consideration, especially by the Fegalo Nsuke-led MOSOP. And that is particularly what formed the basis of this conversation that we are having this morning. Now, we'll get to open the phone lines, but very quickly, let's take Fegalo Nsuke's position on this. When we started, you talked about cementing the differences, coming together and speaking with one voice. Yes, the place of a void will still be there, but that said, you need to have the majority aligning with the sole objective of developing Ogoni. After the Congress, what has been the reflection? Are you beginning to get some positive energy in that direction of those who are ready to work for the good of the Ogoni people?
Yes. One of the primary things we are doing now, we've already started doing now, is to go to people and explain to them this idea. Congress has taken a decision, but very many persons are scared that this development blueprint we've come up with may not be so different from what is going on in high prep, and so it can equally be hijacked and become meaningless. It will not benefit the people. And so one of the things we have to do now is to meet people one after the other and let them understand. So let them buy the idea. Those who have not bought the idea should be made to buy the idea. But we do not expect 100% compliance. No, but what we do know is that we have to do our job, and especially take up the mandate that has been given to us by Congress. But there's something that is very fundamental here, and that's the fact that Ogoni cannot remain the way it is, and Ogoni should not remain the way it is. And Ogoni people are desperate to enjoy better life. Ogoni people are desperate to see their land transformed into a land with hope. And so ultimately, the goal of all that we are doing is to see that poverty is exterminated in Ogoni. Is to see that Ogoni youths find future. Ogoni youths can have a choice to choose which job to take. They have multiple jobs that are available. They have to choose. And the ones they do not choose will be left for people that come from outside Ogoni. That's the kind of system we're driving.
When you got to that point where you mentioned the Ogoni youth,
yes,
it's striking because from time to time we get to hear about intra-communal conflicts.
Yes.
And one of the major drivers of those conflicts, when you talk about those who are put on the front line, these are youth, the youthful population. Fegalo Nsuke, how do you, spearheading things, plan to lead a committee, having concluded your Congress, to make sure that some sort of resolution, circle, understanding is introduced and all of these intercommunal conflicts settled?
You see, the basic reason why you find conflicts in society in many cases is misinformation. The best way to free a people is to educate them. Once you have a society that is not knowledgeable about truth, and to follow that truth, you find conflicts. So one of the primary goals we have right now is to get Ogoni people to understand that there is hope and that we don't need to continue fighting. and that we need to forgive each other. Because you see, a whole lot of things are going on. It is deeper than it is deeper than sometimes it's deeper than it reflects. And I think I can explain something to you. Now there are let me not be specific, let me not mention names. Okay? There are communities in Ogoni that have lost people. Some of them have lost very prominent people. And these prominent people were killed by some other persons. It's difficult for these communities to get away with that, to forget it, to forgive. Are you getting it? And especially when you have a situation where they have young people that are idle and jobless, so they can be exploited and sent to go and fight.
They carry over the grudges.
It's a problem. So one of the things we're trying to do now is to let Ogoni people understand that there is hope. Please, don't do anything that takes your life. There is hope for tomorrow. Better days are coming. Because I am confident that the moment we start building an Ogoni economy, creating jobs for young people, you wouldn't find them in the streets. You wouldn't find them available to do thuggery. You wouldn't find them available. You wouldn't find them in crime anymore. It will be difficult for anybody to convince them that they should fight for whatever reason. Because when they begin to, they are working, they have hope, they start planning their lives better. I'm not too sure they will get into crime. I mean, crime could be maybe exterminated or very minimal.
Interesting. Well, the program is Spotlight this morning, and Fegalo Nsuke is my guest this morning. He's here talking about some of the things that had resulted from the Congress that he had conducted recently, and the Congress had also given birth to some resolutions, which he talked about the fact that in these resolutions would sponsor the growth of the Ogoni economy, develop the land and make sure that every barine, every baribon, whatever name and description that you go by, you get a better life.
Every Fegalo.
Every Fegalo. I like that. And that you have a facelift. So Ogoni sons and daughters, Rivers people, Nigerians, the conversation has just arrived your corridor. You can be a part of the program this morning, get to ask the questions that you have burning, and you also get to make a contribution to the conversation. Do well to call into the program using the dedicated phone lines. The first is 0908 185 5966. We also have 090 22 917 917, and we have 070 4000 Well, you are the Congress, or did you plan on going and you have some reservations? This is the platform to do that. Wave 917 FM, good morning.
Good morning to you, buddy.
Good morning to you.
Good morning, the girls in the house.
Thank you.
Thank you. This is Emmanuel calling from Jerry.
You're welcome, Emmanuel. Please go on.
If I may say, Chief, sorry, I hear something about Ogoni State, something like that. And the question I want to ask our guest, like, if I may ask you, is it like this Ogoni State for dream or for real? How did he feel that it will come to pass? Because for me, Emmanuel, I know that it's not possible, but I don't know for him, the guest in the studio, how he's feeling going about him having Ogoni State. But for me, Emmanuel, I know it's not possible and it never be possible.
Okay, Emmanuel, thank you very much. That's your position. Next caller, 917 Wave FM, you're welcome.
Good morning.
Good morning to you.
The president in the studio, good morning.
Good morning, thank you.
My name is Chief Wale Chimowi from Elena.
You're welcome.
The conversation this morning was quite unique because I can overheard him that there was a congress last Saturday and a team to negotiate for Ogoni has been set up led by him. That is what we are waiting for all this while. Not just saying that 2-3 persons will gather and go to Abuja and say they are speaking on behalf of Ogoni. Now the Congress, meaning that the voice of the whole Ogoni people have come together and said, please go for us. We love that. And I want thing that is in your video not to disappoint that encouragement and trust. Second, in the area of the youth, I think if all that he's saying comes to play, Ogoni will be a place that there will be no crime because everybody will focus on his business.
All right.
Then, at the end, Ogoni will be called a committee of nations among committees. So I want to say once again, the man in your city is doing a good job. We are supporting him and will continue to support him. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Chief Wale. Your point is noted. 917 Wave FM, good morning.
Good morning. My name is Moses, calling from Tobacco.
Moses, you're welcome. Please go on.
Thank you. Greetings to you and to the guests in the studio.
Thank you.
You did mention of taking care of the arrangement on the authority to reduce crime in the society. Please, I want you to take that right one seriously because some kind of things going on is not good. Ogoni people are peaceful. We welcome strangers. We food strangers peaceful. But this time not in that way again. Secondly, what the Congress are still working on their agreement. Is there anything they can do now? To make people engage? Because they are still picking up that crime. That crime is still there. They are on.
All right.
Please. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You get your points, Moses. 917 Wave FM, good morning.
Hello, good morning. How are you, my brother?
Very well. Good morning. Name and where are you calling from?
Yeah, good morning. Our able president of Movement for the Survival of Ogoni People, Fegalo Nsuke.
Good morning, sir. Thank you.
The person calling is the young president of Northern Women Community inside local government. Also, the secretary Movement for the Survival of Ogoni People inside Kingdom, Mr. Amabalan Sigida, coming from Northern Women Community in Ogoni.
You're welcome.
Yeah, so first of all, I want to thank Almighty God for bringing people like Fegalo Nsuke in Ogoni land. I want to tell you honestly that the Congress that was held last week, Saturday, was the clear picture and the mind of the Ogoni people. Talking about the struggle that started from 1990, it is a struggle that many people have made a lot of sacrifices. But I'm telling you that MOSOP as a struggle, the only person that is coming to give the clear picture and understanding of the movement to the Ogoni people is Fegalo Nsuke. Because MOSOP is from grassroots. We have chapters, we have kingdoms, and other districts. Some set of people too frequently we gather go to the federal government, say they are MOSOP. No. So I have to thank you for that place. Secondly, I want to clear the air and let people to know that the resolution from the meeting, the Congress that was held last Saturday, was the clear picture and mind of the Ogoni people. So we pray that God should continue to give Fegalo Nsuke the MOSOP president because we don't have full MOSOP president in Ogoni land. Fegalo Nsuke is the only MOSOP president we have in Ogoni land. So we will support him. We will ensure that all what is embedded in him, the Ogoni people will support him.
Thank you very much for your thoughts. 917 Wave FM, you're welcome. Good morning.
Hi, good morning.
Miriam from Okrika, let's hear you're welcome.
Thank you. Your guest has spoken well, but I'm very worried because today you will hear one group come up to tell us they had a conference and they found the consensus and they had a communique and all this. And another group will come again, maybe probably in another session, to say it was a purported defense. They're not part of it. They're not treating it just too much. So I hope all of them, all the groups, they come to a consensus. They have one agenda now, to roll out. Then you just talk about this convention, and that is something. We talk about something that is going to enrich the chief so much. They're going to be very rich. I'm confused there. So let me break it down. Why should the chiefs that are already rich be richer?
Okay.
The youth president. Should we think about the youth? Thank you.
Thank you, Miriam. I bet you might know one of the richest chiefs. 917 Wave FM. Good morning.
Good morning. This is Theophilus Mada on the line.
You're welcome, Theophilus.
Calling from Warren.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Good morning. Good morning to my president sitting in the studio.
Yes, good morning.
Yes, I want to join in this discussion this morning, speaking on two things, part of the resolution that was made in that Congress. As a youth leader in the Maryland, we are very open for every issue, just like the president was saying. We are conducting with youth, because we are the very aim of this entire development strike. And we are ready to go, we are ready to meet up, accept any good youth that tries to work with us. We are ready to make sure we contribute our quota to this success that is aimed at us. We are ready to make sure that everybody, as far as the work is concerned, in and outside, benefit from this light that is shining through the MOSOP president, Fegalo Nsuke. We have heard from different persons doing different parts, but in this part we are seeing that light. They are also using this avenue to every listener and every president and outside of the land to come. The Congress has given an open door for discourse, resolutions, whatever is their credentials. None of this will help us.
All right.
What will help us is coming together and pursuing this path with the MOSOP president.
Finally?
Yes.
Interesting.
We have to.
All right.
So I'm being close to my president because of the vote of confidence that was passed on him recently. I believe that the spirit of Ogoni and the spirit of God will help him see to the end of this.
Thank you very much. Interesting. And Theophilus, there's something I can assure you, and that fact is pertinent. Wave FM is a global radio. You have that on record. Fegalo Nsuke, the calls are still coming in. Let's get to reestablish the phone lines, then we have you make attempt to some of the questions that have been asked. Remember, you can be part of the conversation by calling the following number: 0908-185-5966. We also have 0902-2917-917 and 0704-1783. Fegalo is a man of letters, so we just try as much as possible to see how we can run through this. Emmanuel came through the first question and he was asking about the issue of state creation and all of that. And we'll join that with the issue of Chief Mwale, who talked about uniting decent voices. You want to respond to this first two?
Yes. You see, when it comes to the concept of a federation is made up of several ethnic groups. And every ethnic group, no matter how small, should be treated fairly and should have equal rights as every other ethnic group, no matter how large. And so when it comes to a true federation, we should actually have an Ogoni state. That's an ongoing process. But what we are talking about now, we understand that, I mean, within the configuration of today's Nigeria, we understand that it will not be possible for us to win a state for Ogoni at Congress. I don't see that possibility. But I don't really eliminate the fact that not giving Ogoni people a state is unjust. And so what we are talking about is, yes, when it comes to reconfiguring the Nigerian nation, which is popularly called restructuring. When it comes to restructuring, Ogoni deserve to be recognized as an ethnic group. To function within the Nigerian state as a distinct ethnic group, they deserve that state. That's one. Then when it comes to the
uniting voices,
that's an ongoing process, and we are doing that. But you see, the fact that there are dissenting voices does not mean we should stop to make progress. Even a government is criticized. People disagree with governments, but that does not mean that government cannot refine what they are doing, or that government wouldn't push forward what they are doing. People have a right to air their views, and their views can be different from yours. But the majority of the people want better life. Let us push forward for this better life. That's what MOSOP is doing. That's what that decision the Congress took. And the decision of Congress overrides whatever anybody will want to take. So Congress has said we should move towards development. We should move towards addressing this problem that has been with us for 3 decades. For over 3 decades. We just can't go back to say somebody is saying something different. Everybody must align with the vision of resolving the Ogoni problem. If you do not want to align, fine, you can be where you are, but we are moving. When you start moving, you just have to keep moving. That's just it. And then somebody talked about money for the chief.
Moses talks about the issue of tackling crime and addressing it, and he's pleading that if there's anything that can be done to expedite that process, it should be done. So I wanted to take it as a twin.
As an image.
Marian from Okrika also talked about the chiefs being richer or being enriched the more. So
well, it happens that development blueprint gave preference to the chiefs, but it also gave preference to the youth, because fundamentally that development blueprint is seeking to create jobs that pay youths excellently, that give a future to youth. But for the chiefs, the development blueprint says chiefs should be paid. Well, I cannot alter that, because that's the decision that was taken by the general larger house. Okay. They want chiefs to be paid, so chiefs will be paid. And then they want youth to have quality life, and they want youth to have a choice of work. So you have multiple jobs available for you. You choose the one you like. You reject the ones you don't like.
Okay.
That's the beauty of it.
Interesting. I told you, if it's about the words, it's at the beck and call of Fegalo Nsuke, and he is the president of the Movement for the Survival of Ogoni People. This morning we are discussing about the Congress that was recently held. We'll quickly open the phone lines once more, take your contributions, and then on the final note here, what Fegalo has to say on the program. So let's see who the last 2 lucky callers will be on the program. Feel free to call into the program 0908-1855966 or 09022917 and 0704001783. Wave FM, good morning. Hello, good morning. Good morning to you.
Good morning,
Yes, good morning. Name and where are you calling from?
Okay, my name is Samuel.
You're welcome, Samuel. Let's hear you.
Okay, I want to shoot my brother.
Please go ahead.
Hello?
Yes, Mike, please go ahead, Samuel.
Okay. Concerning Ogoni's situation issues, I will advise and I will address the guys. Before everything we talk about peace and contentment of the youth in the society, they should stop politicizing things in Ogoni. Things that come into Ogoni, they should stop politicizing it. Because I understand there are some rural areas in Ogoni who doesn't benefit anything that happens in Ogoni. I'm talking from my community decided and from local community in local government. I let you know.
Please go on.
I will tell you from the day from my existence in the community today, because we don't have anything electricity. There is no electricity in my community. Over 10 years ago, they bring a project to electrify the community. But today, the project is abandoned. And nothing is being done about it. Our food, our crops have been rising.
Finally.
Because of all our training and
Samuel, finally.
It's destroyed, and today we haven't seen any benefit from what they destroyed. So we should stop rising things that happen in the society before we talk about peace.
Interesting.
People are suffering. Thank you.
Thank you very much. He says stop politicizing.
He is absolutely right. There are parts of Ogoni that have not seen electricity at all, has never seen electricity. And these are the reasons why you see there was this uprising we call the Ogoni struggle. And these are the issues we want to address with this development initiative. And so I'm going to be giving my last words. Or so should I give my last words?
No, let's address that concern.
Okay. So basically what he just said is actually right, and you now understand the difficult situation that some Ogonis face. There are parts of Ogoni that actually has some electric poles and cables, even if they don't see electricity. But that part of Ogoni where he is talking about, has never seen anything called electric pole.
All right.
It's just unfortunate. Okay. That's the problem we face.
Let's have your parting words on the program this morning.
Yes, my dear Ogoni people, I want to tell you that we have hope. And I want to tell you that the freedom that we seek has actually come. And I'm encouraging everyone to grab it. Look, I told Congress on Saturday, I said, this government, I wasn't speaking, and I'm not speaking for the government, I repeat. I'm not speaking for the government, but this president we have is listening. And because he is listening, I see this government, I see this regime as an opportunity for us to address this problem. Let us take it.
Interesting.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Fegalo Nsuke. And as the struggle has been up and running from 1990 till date, if the development can be achieved, just then, and maybe then, Ken Saruwiwa will be smiling down on you, Fegalo Nsuke. Thank you so much for your time. The major news at noon is up next. My name is Adekunle Adejimo. It has been the Spotlight. Keep listening to Wave FM.
Thank you.
This is Wave 91.7.
Good afternoon.
The Angelus is sponsored by Similar Communication Limited. Number 1.
I saw your picture, I was like, I know this person.
Presidential Hotel. You can reach Carlos Miller.
Let me walk you after. Wow, welcome. I work here.
Carlos Miller at live.com.
Yeah.
I'm sure Ogoni will do well with you.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
And they want to do the news for 12.
Okay, it's all right.
Whoa, small one.
Okay.